Has Mike Norvell changed the culture at Florida State? I think it's a fair question to ask, as Florida State got a big win over their rival, 45-38 in Tallahassee over the Florida Gators. And this was a win that, let's just be real here. Mike Norvell needed this win. Like, at this point in his time in Tallahassee, and where Billy Napier is in his first year in Florida, having just lost to Vanderbilt, like, this was a needed win as a progress landmark for him in his time at Florida State. And obviously got it done. And I think one of the main takeaways I have from this game is the culture being exposed at Florida State. And exposed usually has a negative connotation to it. What I mean by that is you can't hide your culture in two different situations. The first, when you're tired. And they were tired yesterday, or excuse me, I guess Friday it was. They were tired in that game. Came all the way down to the final drive, then back and forth all game. Again, Florida's driving to try and, tie it up to seal the deal. Comes down to the final play, and Florida State digs deep, has enough in the tank to get it done. Officiating goes both ways. I know Florida fans will be upset about the missed calls. I promise you it swung both ways that night. When you're tired, you see your culture. The other situation that you see culture in is when you get punched in the mouth. And Florida ran for 262 yards on the ground. If that's not a punch in the mouth, I don't know what is. To be real, they have some really talented backs. You knew that was a possibility. They didn't show it against Vanderbilt. Definitely brought their hard hat lunch pail in this game. Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne, AR when it was required of him. They have some dudes that can hurt you on the ground, and they did just that. And so what happened? Florida State says, okay, we got to answer the call to action. They go in at half, they're down 24-21. What does Florida State do? Pauses, hits reset, comes out in the second half and score on 4 of the 5 drives they had outside of taking a knee. 3 touchdowns, 1 field goal. Talk about getting hit in the mouth, knowing you have to play complimentary football, knowing you have to pick the other side of the ball up, and executing. And I don't think anybody embodies that better than their quarterback. I mean, Jordan Travis got that dog in him. Just gave his absolute all for that program the other night. I mean, listen to these stats. 270 yards passing, wasn't super efficient, but cashed in when he had to, and then gave every single thing he had in the run game. 15 carries, 83 gritty yards, 2 touchdowns. He was the tip of the spear for that program. He was what led them forward. And when your quarterback has that edge to him, has that moxie, is making plays with his feet and doing it with his arm, the dual threat ability of Jordan Travis and the edge, like I said, that he brings, players feed off of that. Teams feed off of that. I say it a lot. I think teams take on the persona of their head coaches. They also take on the persona of their leaders, especially at the quarterback position. Jordan Travis and his persona, I think, is definitely being embodied and was embodied the other night by that Florida State team. So the culture, when they were tired and when they got knocked around, found a way to answer the call. And that's what mature teams, that's what good, strong culture teams are able to do and win games like they did against their rival. I'm JD Pickell. This is The Hard Count. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, we would love to have you all along. We've had a ton of the Florida State faithful join us lately. Thank you for that. If you haven't yet joined the party, we'd love to have you. Jump on in. The water's fine. Also follow me on the socials at JD Pickell on Twitter and on Instagram. Now, here's my thing with Florida State. This, to me, is looking more and more like a new Florida State that Mike Norvell has now put in the effort to build. Because look at where they were when he got there. In 2020, go 3-6, COVID year. Just not able to really ever get your footing. Okay, 2021, you go 5-7. Had a chance to qualify for a bowl game in the last week of the season at Florida. Exact same opponent. Couldn't get it done in a close game. Now in 2022, continue that upward trend. They finished the year getting 9 wins. They could get 10 wins if they win their bowl game. Think about that for a second. For where Florida State was and where they are today, being a double-digit potentially win football program, that speaks so highly to the patience Florida State has shown with Mike Norvell and also to the legwork that he's done internally. Because I just have a feeling, I get this sense that the old Florida State, the one that had rotten culture, the one where you could see it from an effort and an attitude and a discipline standpoint with the old Florida State that wasn't playing to the standard that's expected there in Tallahassee, that old Florida State would have found a way to lose that football game. When they were tired, would have given up. When they got punched in the mouth, probably would have stammered a little bit, maybe throw a punch back. We'll see how they feel on that day. Like, this entire approach from Florida State is revamped. And I think Mike Norvell deserves all the credit. Installing that took time, and he's never wavered from the process. The response mechanism with this team is so strong. You can look at two different levels. This season, they start 4-0. Okay, phenomenal start. Everyone's excited. The juice is high in Tallahassee. Lose 3 straight. 3 ranked losses, by the way, at the time. But still, to go 0-3 in a 3-week stretch, like, that's tough, man. You find out who you are when you're in the foxhole there. What'd they do since then? Won 5 straight. 9 wins in the regular season. The number of people were putting on Florida State in Tallahassee was, if we can get to 8 wins, that'd be awesome. Like, we'd be happy with 8 wins. You got 9. Then yesterday, I keep saying yesterday, Friday, down at half to a team that, like I said, lost to Vanderbilt. Would be easy to tailspin, get in your head, start to press, get away from who you are, start pointing fingers. None of that. Reset, score on 4 or 5 drives. Defense, do enough to win the football game, especially on that final drive. Like, you're seeing what I'm talking about here. The response of this team to not just take a punch and sit down and think about it. It's take a punch, taste your own blood, start swinging back, have some fight in you. And that's what we're seeing in this Florida State team. And Mike Norvell, again, deserves a lot of credit in that program. Those guys in the locker room deserve a ton of credit for what they've been able to do and how they've revamped it in Mike Norvell's time there. So looking to the future, I can't help but just be so impressed with the way that Mike Norvell talks about his football team, the way that he talks about things. Like, Mike Norvell, he was talking like I hear Kirby Smart and Nick Saban talk in press conferences. Like, the results are great. We're happy with the results. Never turn down a win, what we do the game for. Like, that's awesome. But he talks about the process. He talks about, we get better week in and week out. We focus on this thing and that thing, and the results take care of themselves. That's what the great coaches do. They're obsessed with the process. Why I think Matt Rhule is going to be successful at Nebraska. Why he was successful at Baylor. They're obsessed with the process and fine-tuning that and focusing on the engine and knowing the car is going to go fast when you get all the pieces right. I think Mike Norvell has really got his head on straight. And I'm excited to see this team continue to trend upward under his supervision, because I think they've got a lot of exciting things in front of them. So here's what I think we got to focus on as it pertains to the future impact of that win in the Sunshine Showdown. Like we already said, huge landmark for progress under Mike Norvell. A game you lost a season ago against a team that really you should beat, to be real with you. Like, Florida isn't what they're going to be in the years to come, but that was a win that you needed to have in their first year under Billy Napier. And you got it, okay? Beat your rival. So you now are the state champions, essentially. Think about how much that's going to play into recruiting, or how much that can play into recruiting. You're in arguably the most recruiting-rich area in the entire country, in the state of Florida, and to say we are the best team head-to-head in this entire state, I think is going to be something they can package up and take on the road and acquire the talent that's necessary for them to go above and beyond and compete for ACC titles again. So don't get it twisted. Great to beat Florida, and it's great for Mike Norvell, and it's good for the program, but the impacts and the ripple effects this kind of game can have for in-state recruits especially, I think we're starting to really cook with gas here if we're Mike Norvell and Florida State. This has been The Hard Count. I'm JD Paquette. We appreciate you tuning in and rocking with us. Again, if you haven't yet joined the party and subscribed, would love to have you. The People Show. So whatever you know, whatever you love about college football, it happens here on a daily basis. Jack Terry doing the heavy lifting, but y'all ultimately operate and drive the program. So we're going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.